Greer, South Carolina might be one of the fastest growing areas anywhere around Greenville right now. And for a lot of buyers moving here, it checks almost every box. Newer homes, strong schools, great location, family neighborhoods, airport access, more space for their money. But once people actually move here, they realize there's another side to Greer that nobody really talks about online, because different parts of Greer feel completely different from one another. Some areas still feel local, quiet, and connected to that older upstate charm. Other parts feel like suburban growth completely exploded overnight. Huge neighborhoods, construction nonstop, traffic buyers didn't expect, and honestly, that contrast is exactly why some people absolutely love living in Greer, while others realize this isn't what I thought it was going to be like. So today I'm breaking down the real pros and cons of living in Greer, South Carolina in 2026, the good, the bad, the lifestyle, the trade-offs, and the thing buyers usually don't fully understand until after they've already moved here. So let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Brian O'Neill here, also known as the Tattooed Agent. And on this channel, we talk about what it's really like living in Greenville, South Carolina, and all the surrounding areas, so you can decide which neighborhoods and communities actually fit your lifestyle best. So if you're thinking about moving to Greenville, Greer, Simpsonville, Travelers Rest, or anywhere here in the Upstate, make sure you subscribe, because we drop new relocation videos every single week. All right, this is pro number one, and one of the biggest reasons people move to Greer is location. And honestly, this is probably Greer's biggest advantage overall. Strategically, Greer sits in one of the best positions anywhere in the Upstate. You're close to Greenville, to Spartanburg, the GSP Airport, BMW, and I-85, and for many buyers, that convenience changes daily life in a major way. Especially if you travel often, commute regularly, work throughout the Upstate, or you simply want flexibility. And one thing buyers don't fully realize before moving is your daily life becomes your commute. School drop-offs, grocery runs, gym trips, airport trips, traffic patterns. And Greer's positioning makes all of that easier for a lot of people, especially families and professionals who want suburban living without feeling disconnected from everything. One thing I hear constantly from relocators after they move here is, we didn't realize how central Greer actually felt. And honestly, that's a huge reason demand keeps growing here in Greer. Okay, pro number two, another major reason buyers choose Greer is because they still feel like they get more for their money here. Compared to many Greenville neighborhoods, buyers moving to Greer often feel like they can still get newer construction, larger garages, open floor plans, more square footage, and neighborhood amenities. And emotionally, that matters for a lot of buyers that are relocating from expensive states like New Jersey, California, Florida, and New York. And a lot of people move here and feel like we can finally get space without completely stretching ourselves financially. One thing that stands out in many of the newer Greer neighborhoods is that they feel active. Around sunset, especially in some of these neighborhoods, the energy completely changes. You got kids riding bikes, families walking dogs, golf carts driving around, the pool's busy. People outside are just talking to their neighbors. And for many buyers, that is exactly the suburban lifestyle they were hoping to find when they were moving to the South. All right, on to pro number three. And despite all the growth, one thing I really like about Greer is that parts of it still feel genuinely local, especially the downtown Greer area. Downtown Greenville feels polished, upscale, heavily developed. Downtown Greer still has that community-oriented feel, relaxed, local, and emotionally grounded. One thing you notice walking around downtown Greer is that people aren't rushing. Families stay outside after dinner, coffee shops feel personal, restaurants still feel locally connected. People actually spend time downtown instead of simply passing through. And honestly, that smaller town atmosphere is becoming harder and harder to find in rapidly growing southern cities. This is where many buyers first start emotionally connecting with Greer, because downtown gives off that feeling of life might slow down here a little bit. And for many relocators leaving crowded cities, stressful commutes, or faster paced environments, that emotional shift matters way more than they expected. All right, let's talk about pro number four. Now, if you're raising a family, Greer makes a ton of sense for many buyers, especially if your priorities are schools, amenities, convenience, neighborhood structure, and suburban infrastructure. Compared to many areas around Greenville, Greer offers newer neighborhoods, family-focused developments, community amenities, and practical day-to-day living. One thing families moving here love is that many neighborhoods feel genuinely active. You constantly see kids outside, neighbors walking, neighbors having golf carts, moving around, families at parks, and people using pools and playgrounds. And honestly, that environment becomes a huge quality of life upgrade for many relocators, especially families leaving colder climates, crowded metros, or more stressful day-to-day environments. For many buyers, Greer feels like the type of place where a family life becomes easier and more connected overall. All right, pro number 5. Now, despite all the growth and trade-offs, Greer still has a very strong long-term upside overall because the location is strong, the demand is strong, the infrastructure keeps expanding, and Greenville's overall growth continues to push outward. Now, obviously, growth creates challenges too, but strategically, Greer still sits in one of the strongest suburban positions anywhere around Greenville. And for buyers thinking long-term about resale, family growth, convenience, and newer housing, Greer continues to make a lot of sense. And that's honestly why demand here still remains so consistent. Now let's talk about the first con. And the downside of Greer growing that fast is that traffic changes fast too. And honestly, this is probably the biggest thing buyers moving here underestimate, because many relocators still picture a quiet suburban South Carolina. Then they move here and realize certain parts of Greer feel much busier than expected, especially around Wade-Hampton Boulevard, Highway 14, Pelham Road connections, Riverside, and some of the East Side shopping corridors. One thing that catches people off guard is that many buyers visit Greer on weekends, then move here and suddenly experience school pickup traffic, rush hour backups, packed intersections, and crowded shopping areas during the week. Now, if you're moving from major metros like Miami, New York, LA, or Chicago, you may still think traffic here is manageable overall. But compared to what people expect suburban South Carolina to feel like, Greer surprises a lot of buyers now. And the reason is simple. The area exploded in growth faster than many people anticipated, and that's why traffic can be a disaster here. Now, this next con really depends on personality and lifestyle preferences, but some buyers move to Greer and eventually realize this feels way more suburban than I expected. And this is where buyers need to pay very close attention before choosing where in Greer they want to buy. Because online, many neighborhoods look peaceful, spacious, and quiet. Then buyers physically get here and they realize homes are close together. Neighborhoods are massive. Development is nonstop, and HOA communities dominate certain areas. Now, some people love that setup, especially buyers wanting active communities, amenities, neighborhood interactions, sidewalks, and family-focused living. But other buyers eventually realize, I thought this was going to feel slower and quieter. And this is important. Greer is no longer just a small town in South Carolina. Parts of Greer now feel like full-scale suburban expansion. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but buyers need to understand what type of environment they're actually moving into. All right, con number 3. Now here's something that surprises many buyers moving here. Greer is not the cheap hidden gem that people used to talk about. That version of Greer has disappeared, especially around Riverside, East Side, newer developments, and neighborhoods near highly rated schools. Prices climbed fast over the last several years, and many relocators moving here are shocked by how much some neighborhoods now cost. It's just the housing market. And now, compared to many major metro areas, buyers may still feel like they're getting a strong overall value, but compared to what Greer used to be, it changed dramatically. And this is important because many buyers still move here expecting South Carolina living to be cheap. Then they realize desirable neighborhoods are competitive. Newer homes cost significantly more, and Greenville area growth pushed values upward quickly. So while Greer may still feel more affordable than many larger cities, it's no longer the ultra cheap market many people imagined before visiting. All right, con number 4. Now this is probably the most important thing buyers moving here need to understand. Greer is not one thing. And this is where many buyers accidentally choose the wrong area, because the version of Greer near downtown, Riverside, East Side, Highway 14, or the outskirts can feel completely different emotionally. You can go from quiet, older neighborhoods to massive suburban developments to semi-rural roads to heavy shopping traffic within a very short drive. And that's why physically exploring Greer matters so much before buying, because online everything looks blended together. But emotionally, the lifestyle difference is huge. One part of Greer may feel perfect for your lifestyle, while another part may feel completely wrong. And buyers usually don't realize that until they spend real time here. So definitely come check this out. So my final thoughts, if you're thinking about living in Greer, South Carolina, the biggest thing to know is that it offers a balance that's getting harder to find in many growing cities. On the plus side, you get a thriving job market driven by major employees like BMW, access to GSP Airport, a walkable downtown filled with local restaurants and events, beautiful outdoor spots, like Lake Robinson, Greer City Park, and a location that puts you within 20 minutes of both Greenville and Spartanburg. Greer has done a great job of growing while still keeping much of its small town charm. On the other hand, that growth comes with trade-offs. Home prices have risen over the last several years. Traffic is noticeably heavier than it used to be, and some areas are experiencing rapid development that has changed the feel of certain neighborhoods. So if you're looking for a quiet rural town with little growth, Greer may not be the right fit. But if you want strong opportunities, a family-friendly atmosphere, a vibrant downtown, and a community that continues to invest in its future, Greer remains one of the most attractive places to live in the upstate of South Carolina in 2026. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Greenville, Greer, or anywhere here in the upstate, reach out to me directly. My team and I help people relocate here every single week, and we would love to help you figure out which neighborhoods actually fit your goals and lifestyle best. And let me know down in the comments, what would be your biggest pro or con about living in Greer? I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next video.